All right.
Now, who needs to fire their GMs?
Oh, the same old, and this is what this draft is, man. I really feel like the same old really screwed up. Especially like two teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, how in the world do you have the 22nd and 26th pick in the draft and not choose a wing that can guard? With all that's like by far your glaring weaknesses, and they did that. They outdid themselves. What they did is 22. They drafted Walker Kessler, 7'1" center from Auburn, who's really tight hip, and all he does is shot block at the rim and have potential shooting 3-point shots. He shoots 30% in college, but I'm saying the potential's there. So you drafted a player at 22 to be the backup to the best player on your team, and at 26 they did a better job. They just said, hey, we just drafted our backup center. Let's choose the second best player position, Wendell Moore. I like Wendell Moore. I had him like 32. I liked him, but he's 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan. What do you think he's gonna be playing? Small forward? No, that's a 2 guard.
Yeah.
And then they had at 48, they had Kendall Brown, who's a 6'7", 6'10" wingspan, small forward from Baylor. That's a 3-and-D guy that would have been a perfect fit, but they traded him to Indiana. They had him in his hands. You had 2 picks there, and they should have both been wing defenders. I don't care if it's power forward, small forward, needs to be wing defenders. They need 3-and-D players, but the Minnesota Timberwolves GM outdid himself with stupidness. They get a 10%. It's not even F. It is go back. It is like if somebody said, oh, we want you to write a research paper about the color blue, and I come in there and say, I really love the color orange. This is my research paper about color orange. You get a 10%. The teacher says, read the paper again. That's how stupid this was. How did this even happen? It's something that only the Minnesota Timberwolves could pull off. And this is a great example of stupid organizations, even when they get lucky and have great talent. This is an example of non-winning teams do non-winning things, right? This is you blow up the whole front office. Everybody has to move, and you may Timberwolves fans. I'm sorry to break it to you, but petitions should be held for that owner's head. Because look, you guys are not gonna. You could have Cat and Anthony Edwards, but if you have an owner that does such a terrible job that influences and negatively influences like he does, it's hard to win. And this is just. I feel bad for Minnesota Timberwolves fans. Enjoy watching Cat and Ant, and then they'll probably turn to Donovan Mitchell and him wanting to leave in the future because the team just doesn't know how to build. It's just some teams doesn't know basketball, and this is one of them.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's sad. Literally, it would have been a challenge to do what they did, but they did it, and it's amazing how they escaped the 26th pick in the draft without some 3-and-D wings is beyond me.
Good old Timberwolves.
I know. I would have been at least a little bit nice with a 6'9" guy shoot a 3-point shot. There's a gazillion of them in the draft. Yeah. All right. We're going to go back to another team that sadly is just past its prime when it comes to NBA drafts. The coaching probably should stay, but Spurs, man, number 2. How could leave it to the Spurs to draft the best role player in the draft at number 9? I mean, dear goodness, it's Jeremy Sohan's Draymond Green you know what I mean, gifted defensively. Special guy. He's probably going to be in the league for 10 years. Probably after 8 years is going to leave and go be a good role player in a team that actually has talent to win championships. And yes, that's a shot at UGM. Number 20, they draft Malachi Branham, 6'5" guy with a 6'10" wingspan from Ohio State. A 2-guard, where they have Lonnie Walker. They drafted Joshua Primo, 14th pick in the draft, so they have 3 2-guards now that have all been borderline lottery picks, top 20 picks of the draft. Congratulations, you suck at drafting. And 25, they outdid themselves. Yes, they did. 6'4", 6'9" wingspan Blake Wesley. What is Blake Wesley? A point guard in the NBA. Who's the best player on your team? DeJounte Murray. Congratulations, you suck at drafting. Oh,
pretty
God.
much.
I mean, that guy for the Spurs had a really good run from 1995. That front office had a really good run from 1995 to 2010. Since then, downhill. Look, it's not like they haven't drafted players that aren't good role players on teams. They just don't draft players that have star potential, that have shot creation potential, that can actually be the stars that you build these role players around. And it's just the reality of the draft. They got lucky that DeJounte Murray developed it. DeJounte Murray has had like 8 years to develop into what he is today because they had no competition for him. Right? They got lucky that he developed into this. I mean, this team just doesn't know how to draft to actually have guys with star potential. At 9, there were plenty of guys on the board that were much better picks that you could have drafted. A guy like Tari Eason at 9, that would have been so much better. They just, it's a front office that just doesn't know how to build anymore. Doesn't know how, even though the head coach and the coaching staff is still elite, it's just that the way that they view basketball and the players they choose, they just don't know how to build around real star players that have guys that have a high upside, and you have to take shots. And this franchise is just not willing to take shots. All they draft is safe draft picks with not high upside. And this is the Spurs, man. They get a 40%. Congratulations, you're below F. You suck. That whole front office needs fired, all of them.
So I think we said this last year, right?
Yes.
That we've came to know the Spurs as like this storied organization who's like, oh, we pick the players who you don't think are going to be great, and then they turn out to be great. They've gotten so into that they're like, oh, this guy is showing a little bit of potential, 10%. I bet we can unlock 100% of that. And then it doesn't work out. I think that they need to reevaluate their drafting strategy because, you found Manu from, great. Yeah, you found Kawhi.
15
great.
years ago. 10 years, 12 years ago.
The NBA has evolved now. You have to catch up with the times. There are certain things that you should look for in a player and not just he's a diamond in the rough.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what they're looking for every year. A diamond in the rough.
They don't know how to draft. It's plain and simple. They're top 5 worst drafters in the league, and it's sad because Popovich has to make that. I mean, the fact that they have the 9th pick in the draft of that roster is a testament to what Greg Popovich is. Because dear goodness, that's great coaching. That's what that is. That's the only reason why you don't have a top 3 pick every year is Greg Popovich. And I think when you have a great coach like that, I guess maybe sometimes you could take him for granted.
Because he's been able to maximize the talent every year. So they're like, we give him whatever he wants. He's gonna make it a winning season. I'm like, but when he retires, what do you have left? It's coming soon. This man's 97 years old. I'm kidding.
No, you're not wrong. There's a reason why he stepped down from the Olympic team. He's probably he's probably got 2 years max. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Duncan's the next guy.
Yeah.
Got
to be interesting.
Yeah. All right, you ready to transition?
Yeah.
This is sad for me because usually I love this GM. It's the Denver Nuggets at 3. I mean, so, it's surprising because they do a great job usually, but drafting Christian Braun, that guy's not a first-round draft pick. They drafted a 21, 6'7" guy, 3-point shooting, borderline NBA athlete, doesn't do anything else. I think it was like the 50s on my big board because he's really slow. So at that point in time, I think they're just trying to choose role players for their team. And, when you try to shoot for guys that you think can be role players, it's like when you have goals. Let's say our podcast goal is to make 30 minutes of content a week. So then we might do like 15 to 25. We'll probably underachieve a little bit. But if our goal is like 100 an hour, we'll maybe do 45, 30. You know what I mean? Like, and when it's kind of like for drafts. When you draft for role players, that guy probably might flame out the league. When you draft trying to find a guy that could be a starter, that guy might be a bench guy. When you draft for a guy that might be a superstar, that might guy just be a good starter or a star. You know what I mean? And Christian Braun is a guy that's really borderline NBA athlete, and I really don't know if he's going to be in the league for more than 4 years because of that. That's where I'm like, I don't think that was the worst first round. Then they followed it up with another terrible pick with Peyton Watson, who's not an NBA guard. And secondly, they have the Sean Bones Highlands, the Morris guy, Will Barton, Jamal Murray. Why are you drafting guards at the 30th pick in the draft? You should be drafting forwards, power forwards. And that was a terrible draft for us. He might not even be on the team 3 years from now. And, the best pick they had was Ismail Kamagate, 46th pick in the draft, 7-footer. He was 30-something on my big board. By far the best thing they did in the draft. I mean, he might be the best player out of this draft class in the next 4 years. 7 foot from France, athletic, could be Nikola Jovic's backup for a few years. And, this is a wasted draft. This is, a blimp in the radar for a great GM where they did a terrible job. They get a 50.
Yeah. I mean, they had it last year. Oh, Bull. Let's not use this guy.
Yeah. That's
going to come back to bite him. I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with you. All right, you ready to transition? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was about to say, for Denver Nuggets fan, I'm just going to do it for us. We're going to hang our head in shame.
Hey, you got a great team next year. So, this team's ready to win right now. So, that's something you're going to be happy about. Probably a top 4 team in the West next year.
Jamal Murray coming back. Let's go.
Yep. They have really good. They have a lot of good guards there, man. All right, you ready to transition?
Yeah.
All right, number 4, I got to take a shot at the hometown team. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Ooh.
All right, at the 14th pick, you were in the lottery. And, the Cavs, you may be a winning team right now, but you are so young that drafting a guy who's just only going to doesn't get any better, doesn't have any higher potential than what he isn't going to overly improve, is not the right fit. And Ochai Agbaji is a 23-year-old guy that has nothing other than being a 3-and-D guy at 6'6". So, yeah. I mean, even roster-wise, what is he going to play other than 2-guard? You guys have a big lineup at small forward position. You have Isaac Okoro. I don't think he's going to be the backup small forward over him. So you literally only drafted a 3-and-D backup 2-guard with no high upside. Because if somebody's going to be on the bench, I'd rather have a guy with some high upside coming off the bench that in a few years can develop into something, rather than just having a guy off the bench that is just going to be on the bench for the rest of his career because he's never going to be better than Caris LeVert. It's not even ever going to be close. He doesn't have near the upside. So he just wasn't the right kind of player there. Because he's a senior out of Kansas. All he does is come off ball screens and attack closeouts and shoot the 3-point shot at 6'6" and guard. That's Wesley Matthews. He was the 26th, 25th, 24th guy on my big board, so it was a reach for that too. There was just so many guys there that had real high upside. Again, you had the lottery pick. That's where you choose somebody with some upside that can grow with the team if he's going to be a bench player anyway. You know what I mean? So and getting a bench shooting guard costs about $3 to $4 million in the NBA. I mean, Wesley Matthews probably cost $4 million. It just wasn't worth it. And, at the 39th pick, it wasn't that terrible. I think the 45th guy on my big board, Khalif Diop, is the center who's a developmental raw center at the 39th pick. 49th pick, Isaiah Mobley. I think they just drafted him because he's Evan Mobley's brother. I don't think he's going to ever be an NBA player. I didn't understand that one. Or Luke Travers from Perth. That's a country, Perth. I think. I don't know. This guy wasn't on my big board. He wasn't on anything. So, they get a 55. It was really bad. And, it's sad. I'm a Cavs fan. It just wasn't the right choice at 14.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The 5th team on this list it's surprising. it was either them or the Sacramento Kings for Keegan Murray at 4, but they didn't really have any other picks, and this one I just felt was egregious. 24th pick was the Bucks. The Bucks are the 5th worst draft on my draft. Maron Beauchamp. So Maron Beauchamp is a 6'6" G League guy, 19 years old, who can defend and is really athletic, but he shoots 25% from the three-point line, 65% from the free throw line. That doesn't really sound like a two guard that fits with Giannis. Because in the future, his shot looks really broken, and he has no skill. It's not like he's a mid-range guy. Like, he literally has no skill. It's very rare that somebody goes from no skill to skilled 5 to 10 years from now in the NBA. He's kind of like Keon Johnson from last year's draft, where the intrigue was 48-inch vertical, 6'5", but had no skill. There were so many three-point shooters in this draft, like an Ochai Agbaji. I know he got drafted at 14, but there's like a gazillion of those guys, like a Gabriel Procida that went at 36 for the Detroit Pistons. Like, there's like 5 to 10 guys that can be three-point shooters at the very least, day one for you for the Bucks. And even a guy like Jaden Hardy, who went in like the early second round, who's a 6'4" shot creator for himself, has high upside. That's what they needed. They need somebody who's able to become a shot creator on the bench, because they need a fourth guy that can shot create for himself on that team. And Marion Beauchamp's 5 years away from being that, maybe. I mean, he might flame out the league. It's a bust pick. 58th pick, Hugo Besson. He was like a 50th on my big board. He might stick on the bench as a point guard. He does have some skill. He probably can shoot off the bench. He might get some minutes. I don't really know. It's going to be borderline because this team's trying to win a championship. So I just don't. Marion Beauchamp is just, one, not a first-round draft pick. 2, doesn't really fit what your team needs, even if he develops. Because him developing is probably a 30% standstill three-point shooter and a 70%, 75% from the free throw line, and a guy that can be a standstill three-point shooter and attack closeouts and be athletic. It's just not anything that you would draft, and I just disagree with this so much. He's kind of like Gerald Green. You remember Gerald Green? Really athletic, but had no skill and just bounced around off benches for a while. He's kind of like that, where it's just like egregiously no skill. So I don't agree with that pick. He might be the least skilled two guard in the draft.
They're like, oh, he can jump high.
Yeah, that's it.
Who knows?
You have a guy that could be in the slam dunk contest that nobody will ever remember.